العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه طيبين طاهرين مع بعض. فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اجعل لنا من لدنك وليا واجعل لنا من لدنك نصيرا. صدق الله العظيم. الصلاة والسلام عليك يا سيدي يا رسول الله. الصلاة والسلام عليك يا سيدي يا حبيب الله. الصلاة والسلام عليك يا سيدي يا نور الله. صلى الله تعالى عليك وسلم. Pir-e-Tariqat Syed Khalid Sahab, Shaykh Sahab, Pir-e-Tariqat Sahab, beloved ulama, respected elders, brothers and sisters in Islam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As Muslims living in the West, particularly in this time in our history, a very interesting experience of being part of the Ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. As a minority, and as people with access to certain technology that allows us, at least from a distance, to see the state of our brothers and sisters throughout the Muslim world, things can look quite bad. Especially now, this time, this year, can't really think of a corner of the Muslim world where we're not hearing our fellow Muslims calling out in suffering and pain. In Gaza, children are suffering. In Pakistan, all people are suffering. In Iraq, the entire country is on fire. In Iraq, the kingdom of Shaykh Al-Gillani, people are in pain. But if we look at our history, I think it's safe to say that this ummah is not really suffering any more now than it has in the past. In fact, I would argue that really we're suffering quite less. Yet we seem to be more unsettled, more anxious, more desperate for some solution. And there are many of them. I think those of you living in this country are aware of all of the different propositions that are put forth that will be the single solution to help this ummah. Some people take a more ritual approach. They say, if only our pants were a little shorter, if only we used the miswak a little more, inshallah things would be better. This is the sunnah. No doubt this would bring benefit to us. This is the truth. Inshallah there'd be benefit from it, but it's not enough. Others take a more political approach. They say if we had more political representation here in the West, then inshallah things would be better for the ummah elsewhere. I say, perhaps taking it a step further, if only we had a Khalifah, then inshallah things would be better. They're making an effort, mashallah. But none of these propositions, when they're put into action, seem to have much effect. Every attempt that's made to bring some security to the ummah, or even just to bring some comfort to those who are suffering, seems to fail. So I think this is evidence that our desperation, that despair that all of us are experiencing, whether we're suffering ourselves or seeing our brothers and sisters suffer, is not a result of the strength of those who oppose us, but it's the result of our own weakness. These propositions fail not because we're up against such a powerful force, but they're poorly conceived solutions to a rather serious problem. We seem to adopt these political solutions and these ritual solutions always at the expense of the sure means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us that will result in our safety and our security and our comfort. The mistake we make is we think that the solution is in our hands. Whether that means we take action with them or we raise them up in dua. The mistake we make is we think that that solution is going to come either from the work we do with that hand or the dua we make when we raise them up. But by means of His Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us in whose hands that solution will be found. Imam Abu Nu'aym al-Asfahani rahmatullahi alayh in his Hilyat al-Aulia narrates a hadith from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam that comes to us from Syedna Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu ta'ala, who says that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam tells us that there are 300 awliya Allah whose hearts are like the hearts of the Prophet Adam alayhi salam. There are 40 whose hearts are like the heart of Musa alayhi salam. There are 7 more whose hearts are like the heart of Ibrahim alayhi salam. There are 5 whose hearts are like the heart of the angel Jibreel alayhi salam. And there are 3 whose hearts are like that of Mika'il alayhi salam. And finally 1 wali whose heart is like the heart of the angel Israfil alayhi salam. Here Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is describing the hierarchy of awliya Allah. These men and women as well, sitting at the very top of the ummah. After the Anbiya alayhim salatu wasalam, after the Sahaba radiyallahu ta'ala. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in this hadith tells us that there never is a time when these 356 awliya Allah are not present on earth. The hadith continues and he describes how this happens, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He says that when the one whose heart is like the heart of Israfil, who sits at the top of the hierarchy, when he dies, one of the 5 below him takes his place. Or rather, one of the 3 below him takes his place. One of the 5 then replaces one of the 3. One of the 7 then replaces one of the 5, one of the 40 replaces one of the 7, one of the 300 replaces one of the 40, and finally, one of the common Muslims is raised up in rank and replaces one of the 300. A constant cycle of renewal whereby this ummah never lacks these 356 awliya Allah. And he tells us, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that they play a particular role in this ummah. He says, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that it's due to these 356 awliya Allah that creatures are given life and death. It's due to these awliya Allah that the rain falls. It's due to them that the vegetation grows. And most importantly, for our circumstances today, it's due to them that difficulties are removed. This is the function that they play. This is a hadith that is perhaps more relevant now than it ever has been. Again, not because we're in more need of help, but we're not taking advantage of the help that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already provided for us. These awliya Allah were created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for our sake. And the role that they play, as those who give life and death, those who cause the rain to fall and so forth, is for our benefit. And whatever success we see in this world is due to them. And likewise, whatever failure we might encounter, whatever suffering we're experiencing, it's also going to have to do with our relationship with these awliya Allah. And there are many other hadiths in which Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentions from amongst these awliya Allah certain groups that perform this function. Victory is from them. Success is from them. This is how Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in another hadith from Imam Ahmed tells us that that group of 40 that he mentions, who are called the Abdal, the substitutes. In that hadith from Imam Ahmed, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam tells us they're called the Abdal because when one of them passes away, as the first hadith tells us, another one substitutes in his place. So they're called the Abdal, the substitutes. And he says, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, it's because of them that you're given victory. Because of these Abdal that you're given victory. So we see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is providing us with this sure means towards success. But of course, whenever we mention these hadiths, or we make the claim that it's due to these men and women that we receive sustenance, it's due to these men and women that we succeed, people have their